Greetings, cats and kittens. I hope everybody's well. I was talking about an interesting topic earlier today with a friend, the topic of free will, and I thought I would share my thoughts with it. And frankly, I don't feel like typing it all out, so I thought I'd just make a video. The issue with free will is when you're talking about it. Most people have different ideas of what free will exactly is. So it's hard to sit down and get to the meat and potatoes of the topic because people are talking about two different things and calling it the same name. I myself break it down into three distinct categories. There's legal free will, partial free will, and complete free will. The legal free will being the legal definition of free will, being of sound mind and sound body, aware of your actions and not being coerced into those actions. For example, if you right now decide you want to go make a sandwich, you are aware of the consequences of making that sandwich. No one's coercing you into making that sandwich. No one's got a gun to your head saying you better make a damn sandwich. And you're sane and you're not nuts. So that fits the legal definition of free will for making that sandwich. I think we all can agree that the general population does have legal free will in that aspect. So we won't be talking about that too much. Then there's partial free will and complete free will. When you ask people about free will, most people tend to gravitate to the idea that we have complete free will, that you are completely in control of every choice that you've ever made in your life, which gets knocked out of the water pretty quickly with some simple thought experiments. For example, if I ask you to choose a number between 1 and 100, you know that there are 100 possible choices there that you can make. Even more so, I didn't say a whole number, so you could even go so far as to give me decimals, 47.93 or, whatever. But when I say, notice that when I ask you to pick a number between 1 and 100, even though you know that there are an infinite amount of numbers between 1 and 100, your mind starts limiting those right away before you can even make a conscious decision about it. It's as if your brain is just throwing suggestions out to you, even though you know there are an infinite number of numbers between 1 and 100. Your brain starts throwing out 3, 7, 9, 13, 14, 21, 27, and you'll notice also, which is an interesting thing, that your brain starts giving them off it starts off with the small numbers and builds its way up. Nobody's first thought is 73. Nobody, it always starts with the low numbers first and builds its way up. If that's not convincing enough for you, think about the same question but related to song titles or cities. You know that you are aware of the names of hundreds of different songs, but if I were to ask you to pick a song title and tell me any song title that you can think of, even though you are aware of hundreds of names of different songs, your brain limits you to 10 or 12. Again, it starts throwing out suggestions. Even though you are aware of the name of hundreds of different songs, your brain just starts throwing out suggestions and limits you to 10 or 12 at most. And even if you were to sit there and think about it, this is another interesting thing. Even if you were to sit there and think about it for days, weeks, months, and really mull over what song you want to name, you're still probably going to pick one of the first 10 or 12 that you thought of. Even if you sat there and wrote down the name of every song that you can think of, you are still probably going to pick one of the first 10 or 12 that your mind gave you the option of. The same with cities. If I asked you to name a city, any city in the world, you are aware of the names of at least 50, because we all memorized the 50 capitals of the states when we were in school. Yet your brain limits you automatically and starts just throwing out suggestions. Paris, Milwaukee, Kansas City, Tampa, San Francisco. Even though you know the names of hundreds of different cities out there, so the idea that we have complete free will is knocked out of the water pretty easily, because not only are we limited to the names of songs or the names of cities that we know, we're also limited to the small selection from that pool which our brains suggest for us. So, in the example of song names, even though you know hundreds of different song names, not only are you limited to those hundreds of different song names, but you're limited to the first 10 or 12 that your mind suggests to you. So the idea of complete free will is pretty much knocked out of the water right there. Partial free will is debatable in itself. I like to think that we do have partial free will, but there are some interesting studies that have been made, and lots of them. For example, one of the popular studies is to have a little light come on or give someone a thumbs up and hook them up to a brain scan machine, and tell them, when I give you the thumbs up or when that light comes on, choose right or left hand and raise it, and do so spontaneously. Don't think about it. Don't make your decision ahead of time. When that light comes on, you just pick right or left and raise one at that moment. And what's interesting is people, not only can you tell what hand they're going to raise ahead of time, but you can do so at an average of 550 milliseconds before they actually raise their hand. So, the light comes on, half a second later they actually raise their hand, but when that light came on, their mind made the choice to raise that hand, even though they were supposed to do so spontaneously, which might sound a little like it's a reaction, but compared to reactionary tests, when the light comes on, raise your hand. Reactionary tests come out an average of 220 milliseconds. So it's not like their mind is saying, okay, the light came on right, and then they raise their right hand in reaction to that. Because if it was, it would be a lot closer to the 220 millisecond mark instead of the 550 millisecond mark. They would not be able to tell a half a second before they raise their hand which hand they're going to be able to, but again, it's debatable. Partial free will is debatable. We don't know everything, we can't tell exactly what thought's going on in there. We can just tell that they've decided on the right hand or decided on the left hand. So we there's still a lot of room in there to fiddle with. But I just thought I'd share my views on that, my thoughts, and I don't know. As most people think that we have complete and total free will, I thought I would share this, and perhaps you will think about free will in a little bit differently, a little bit different way now.